Hey, my name is Eleni, but most people call me Lainey. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about all the books I read in February. Basically, for February, I decided to only read books that, since it was like Valentine's Day and Black History Month, I decided to only read books by Black authors that were romances. So basically romances by Black authors. Specifically, I realized I only chose women authors because I feel like they write romances the best. So the first book I read was Only for the Weak by Natasha Bishop. I read that book on Kindle and it was a pretty decent book. It wasn't my favorite book. I feel like they were only really focused on the romance between the two main characters. The two main characters, their names were her name was, pretty sure her first name was Janelle, because I read this in the beginning of February. I don't know why I didn't write down their names. In Rome, pretty sure. So basically it's about this girl whose sister is getting married to her ex, and she's very stressed out, and that weekend has been very complicated to her, not because her sister and her ex-boyfriend are getting married, but because her sister is just very anal, and she can just be very annoying, and she just is overprotective about things going on in the wedding, and people keep checking in on her because they feel like she might be like, you know, a little, I don't know, overwhelmed with everything because, you know, of the circumstances. Her sister is getting married to her ex-boyfriend, and I feel like when you read the synopsis of the story, it sounds very interesting, but when you actually read the story, it's not that interesting. I feel like all the depth goes into the romance, and it doesn't really explore the dynamics between her sister and even her ex-boyfriend, her sister's current boyfriend. Like, it doesn't really give us any explanation as to why she doesn't really care that they're getting married. I feel like it doesn't really explore their relationship in depth, and I feel like he oversteps sometimes, and I don't know. I just feel like the story wasn't the best story. It's not the best romance I've ever read. It's not my favorite at all. It was decent. It was a good little read if you needed something light to read and something light. But other than that, and it has like it has not a lot, because I feel like there's more stories out there that have like a lot of smut, but it has a good amount of smut in it, which isn't my favorite because I feel like after a while you expect it and then you kind of get bored of it. So that's my review of Only for the Weak by Natasha Bishop. The next book I read was, the reason why I keep looking at my laptop is because I wrote notes on it. The next book I read was The Right Sign by Nia Arthurs, and it's another book that I read on Kindle, so I don't have the physical copy of the book. But it was basically about a girl and her best friend. The girl's name is, they call her, what was her name? It was a really unique name, Yaya. And they mentioned her real name in the book. I literally forgot what it was, but her name is Yaya. And her best friend, which is a dude, he destroyed a billionaire's car because he saw his ex-girlfriend at a party that they were both going to, and he got upset because the dude seemed like an a-hole. So he decided to destroy his car, and to nobody's surprise, he destroys the wrong car. So it was one of those fake dating relationships because the billionaire, he fell in love with her at first sight. She took the blame for her best friend. She told him to run because, you know, he had some things going on and she didn't want him to get in trouble. And that's how the story goes. And Nia is all these characters are Black except the one from The Right Sign. He is the love interest, the male love interest. He is white, and his name is Dare. But Dare gives Yaya a proposition. He's just like, you know, fake date me, and, you know, I won't charge your best friend for the car. I won't press charges against you or him, and everything will be fine. And at first, initially, she thought that he was just trying to, like, you know, prostitute her, like trying to basically pimp her out. Basically, that's what anybody would think. And then she kind of just realized that he just wanted somebody to pretend to be his fake girlfriend, because I don't want to like tell the whole story, but yeah, he just needed her to pretend to be his girlfriend for a specific reason. And it was actually, I feel like it was well written. It was a good story. Yaya is deaf, so I like that, because there is a major communication plot, which is very annoying to me in a lot of romances, because it's just like, y'all are adults. Like, that's one of my it's like one of my least favorite tropes, where a minor miscommunication makes the whole relationship, it affects the whole relationship, and it causes so much turmoil, because it's just like, y'all are adults. Y'all should be able to communicate effectively. It should not have gone to this, but since she's like, and although they're deaf, they communicate very well, because like he actually takes the time to learn, and but there's just one communication mishap in this book that leads to some mess. But it kind of makes sense, because she is deaf, and but I feel like the way she wrote the story, she handled it really well. It was really well written. It's not any smut in it at all. There's like one scene, but it's not any smut. It was a good book. It's not my favorite romance, and yeah, pretty good book. That was The Right Sound by Nia Arthurs. The next book I read was Honey and Spice by Bolu Babalola. This was my favorite book out of all the romances that I read. It's basically about this girl named Kiki, and she and her best friend have this podcast, and basically they go to this college. It's a PWI, predominantly white college, and they just have this this podcast warning, like, mostly the majority Black students of the on the campus, about like, just giving them tips on self-love and how to avoid getting played by dudes on campus. And then one day they go into the podcast and they realize that the group of girls that usually listen to their podcast, they're like fighting over this one dude, and then she so happened to like run into him like the same day or the day before that. And then she kind of connected the dots, but she didn't say his name. She kind of just was like, this guy has got y'all like kind of like screwed up. Like, he's kind of like, he has you guys fighting, and it shouldn't have like resorted to that. So she basically warns all the girls, don't fall for it. He's a smooth talker. You might not think that he's not like the other college dudes on campus, but he really is. And so they ended up Kiki ended up seeing this guy, his name was Malachi, at the club, and she was trying to get away from her, situationship, because he wasn't really her boyfriend. She was trying to get away from him because he was basically harassing her and trying to make her feel bad. And so basically what she did was she kissed the Malachi guy, but then it kind of caused an uproar and a stir on the campus and online, because they were just like, you warned us about this guy and then you got caught kissing him. So they thought she was a hypocrite. So then they ended up fake dating. It wasn't only because of the uproar and the backlash from people. It was a whole lot of factors that caused them to start fake dating, but it ended really well. And I wrote some notes about this and I want to read them because I actually like the notes that I wrote. And I wrote that Bolo is a phenomenal writer. She writes very cleverly, witty, and in a charming way, because she's a really, really good writer. And I said I love the banter between Kai and Kiki. Kai and Kiki. Their chemistry comes off naturally, although they're a fake date, and their interactions never seem forced. And it just their conversations are always very natural and very fluid. And then I said, I think I quoted something from the book. I wanted to curl in on myself as if the clement heat involves. So I wanted to stretch as if I had just taken a deep, satisfying nap. Let the energy from the good resting spread me straight, pull me taller. And I think I made like a little video because I was like so moved by that line. I really loved it. And pull me straight, taller. This was a beautiful way to express how the call made her feel. She had just got off a call with him, and then she said that, and I just loved that. And I think I also made a little video while I was reading because I loved it so much. And I was in bed reading. I made a little video. I'm gonna add it in.
Hello. I'm sorry, I just had to get that out of my system.
I've been reading Honey and Spice by Bolu Babalola, and they're British, so I just had to get that out of my system. But I just wanted to make a quick video talking about this book because it's on my February TBR, and it's the third book I've read so far. I plan on reading 6 books, and I've read 2 books so far, and I plan on finishing this today and then starting on the 4th book by tonight. But I realized for the other books I didn't really make any videos talking about them, I guess because I haven't found anything very interesting or profound in them. They were good books, but this book is just so well written, and it's just the author of the book, Bolu, I just think her writing is phenomenal, and I just love everything she's done in this book. I think that not only is the story just captivating, it just isn't something that, it's not lazily written. Like, I feel like a lot of fake dating plots are just very lazy and they're predictable, but I like how well thought out this book is, and I just like how although it's fake dating and it could be very predictable, it's not like that at all. And I love the chemistry between the 2 characters. I honestly do, because I'm not that into romance. I don't read it all that much, but I genuinely love the chemistry between these characters. I love the main character because she's supposed to be this very reserved person. She chooses to be. She doesn't have to be. Like, that's just not. She has a very outgoing personality, but she chooses to be reserved. She's very satirical, but when she wants to be, she's very charming. And I really love the way Bolu expresses how she's feeling. It's just always very well written, thought out. Like, there's this one instance in the book where she got off the phone with Malachi, and he hung up because his dad called, and she didn't really know what she was feeling, but she described it in such a beautiful way because she felt something for him. She's been feeling something for him, but the way she described it was I'm trying to find it. She said, "I wanted to curl in on myself as if to trap the clement heat in, but I also wanted to stretch as if I had just taken a deep, satisfying nap. Let out the energy from the good resting spread me straight, pull me taller." Like, I just feel like that was just so well written. Like, I don't know. Like, this is the 3rd romantic book that I've read this month, and it's the only one that hasn't made me cringe, like, throughout the whole book. Like, there's a few moments where I'm just like, that was kind of cringy, but it doesn't make me cringe in a way that's in a derogatory way. It makes me cringe in a way that's like, oh, that's corny, but it's also sweet and endearing, you know? So that's why I love this book. It's just like, it's just so well written and thought out, and I'm not getting tired of it. I don't want it to end. It's not like that I don't want it to end. It's not like I'm checking the pages waiting on it to end, you know? And that's what I love about it. I'm on chapter 17 so far, and I plan on finishing it in a couple of hours and then moving on to 7 Days in June. But yeah, I just wanted to make a quick little video. I don't think I'm going to do this with all the books, but I just felt really I just really wanted to make a video, a quick little video on it. That's all I have. But yeah, thank you for listening. Bye. And then the last book I read was 7 Days in June, and I actually was supposed to read more books, but I'll tell you guys why I stopped. But 7 Days in June by Tia Williams was also a really good book. It's about these 2 writers who have kind of been indirectly writing to each other, and then one of the writers is a woman, Genevieve, and then the other is, his name is, I don't know why I never remember the male character's names. It's so annoying. but it's Genevieve and Shane. And it looks like it's supposed to be pronounced Genevieve, but she's from Louisiana. Her family's from Louisiana, so they pronounce it Genevieve. And basically, they're two writers. They write indirectly to each other because they had spent time together in June when they were seniors in high school, and they spent 7 days together. Just they ran away because they had really nobody that cared that much about them, and they spent time together. But he kind of just stopped talking to her after one event that happened during their 7 days, and you know, he never reached out to her until like one day he came up to one of her book seminars where she was talking with other authors about books and just different topics. He just popped up, and then after that, that's where the story that's how the story just kind of begins. And it just is a very, very complex story about two people that love each other, and no matter how much they try to push each other away or how far they are from each other, they always come back to each other, basically. And there was like this little quote from the book that the daughter said. She was just like, "Which one of you are the turtle?" And then they were just like, "What do you mean?" Because Shane and Genevieve were hanging out with her daughter, and she was just like, "Which one of you guys are the turtle?" And he was just, and they were kind of just like, what do you mean by that?" She was like, "Which one of you is the one that always leaves but always comes back?" I thought that was pretty. I thought that was beautiful. And what I wrote about this was, there were a few cringy sayings in this book that really kind of, I don't know, like, you can just tell, like, the main characters are millennials, and you can tell because they would say little cringy things like Shiro and gelato-gasm. Like, she was eating gelato and she was just like, "Oh, gelato-gasm," and just like, ew. And then she had another one where she was just like, they just had queendom. I just wrote it like a few down because I'm just like, that's so cringy. And then I also wrote about how the time they spent together as seniors was so intense. Like, she wrote it so beautifully, and she writes about and the way she writes about the two characters, and you can just see so much of both the characters in each other is so beautiful. But the way she wrote their stories as when they were like seniors and they were like 17 or 18, and the 7 weeks they spent together, it was so intense for high schoolers. Like, the things that they were doing, it was just so intense. And I don't want to say it because I don't want to, spoil the book for anybody, but it was just a lot to take in, because you're just like, you have to remember that they are seniors and you can't believe that they're doing that. But I feel like there's a lot of people in the world that could resonate with it. I'm gonna take a little break and then come back because I have a few things to do. But yeah. Hi, I'm back. Previously I was talking about 7 days in June, and I think I said mostly everything I wanted to say. I wanted to talk about the epilogue because the story ended kind of ambiguously, I would say. Like, the ending was open to interpretation, and I was kind of sad, but I was also happy because I feel like the ending wasn't sad, but the epilogue, because there was an epilogue in the book, and the epilogue basically was the ending, and it kind of tied everything together, and it was a beautiful ending. That's all I wanted to say about 7 days in June. What I want to talk about next is all the books I'm going to read in March. So basically my March TBR. Oh yeah, and I forgot, I think I showed you guys the books, but this was 7 days in June. It had a book cover, but I took it off because I don't really like book covers that much. Some book covers I'll keep on if they're really nice, like this one book collection I have, the Golden Compass book series. I really like the book covers, but I love this book cover. It's really, really pretty. This is how it looks. But I'm going to show you guys the books that I plan on reading in March. So the first book I planned on reading is Carmilla. And the reason why I'm looking down at my laptop is because I wrote little notes about them, because I don't want to just read off the back. I want to just put the summary of the book in my own words. So Carmilla It is a story set in the 1800s following a woman who becomes friends with an enigmatic lady named Carmela. The friendship slowly starts to become peculiar and parasitic. And this is Carmela. It's such a beautiful book. And I was reading up about this book because I really wanted to know more. And it's the original, like, it's one of the first vampire stories. I don't think it's like the first, but it's one of the first. It came out before Dracula, because you think that Dracula was like one of the first vampire stories to come out, but Carmilla was. And it's so crazy because it's about two women and it's supposed to be very sapphic. So I think that's just really, it's actually very insane that this book came out in the 1800s. The next book I want to talk about is We Have Always Lived in a Castle by Shirley Jackson. And it's a book that I've had on my TBR for a really long time. And I've always wanted to buy it because I've always loved the cover. And I just never bought it. But the reason why I bought it is because I'm scrolling through Hulu looking for a show to watch last week. And I saw that they made a show about it. And I was like, this is my sign to read the book. So I bought it. And I just love the cover. It's just so pretty. And it's basically about two girls who live with their uncle, and they kind of live in solitude from everybody else in their village. And I'm just gonna read off what I have here. They've sheltered themselves from the rest of the world because of a tragedy that occurred in their family, and their cousin visiting, you know, kind of his presence kind of threatens their life there, because I actually don't know, but his presence kind of threatens their life there because of some secret that they have. And then the last book I plan on reading in March is Allegedly, and it's by the same person that made Monday's Not Coming, and it's a book that I have on my TBR, but I'm not ready to read yet. But I've always wanted to read this book because it's about a girl named Mary. She and her mom would babysit, and they babysitted this baby who was white, and she died mysteriously. For some reason, Mary took the blame for it. I guess she took the blame for her mother. Her mom placed the blame on her, but she ended up in jail for a little bit and then in a group home, and then she became pregnant herself. So the story kind of just follows her trying to uncover the truth, or, you know, trying to figure out what happened that night and finally speaking up, because if she doesn't, then her baby is going to be at jeopardy of being taken. But there's supposed to be a twist ending, and I'm really excited to read this book. And this, I don't know if I'm gonna read this because we're like 3 weeks or 2 weeks into March, and I don't know if I'll be able to finish it, but these are the books I know that I'm definitely gonna read. And this is a book that I'm gonna read if I have time, and it's called The Butterfly Garden, and it's just a random book that I found on my own, just looking through books on Amazon. It's basically about the summary on the back says, beauty has never looked so terrifying. Near an isolated mansion lies a beautiful garden. In this garden grows luscious flowers, shady trees, and a collection of precious butterflies, young women who have been kidnapped and intricately tattooed to resemble their namesakes. Overseeing it all is the gardener, a brutal, twisting man obsessed with capturing and preserving his lovely specimens. When the garden is discovered, a survivor is brought in for questioning. FBI agents Victor Hanoverian and Brandon Edison are tasked with piecing together one of the most stomach-churning cases of their careers. But the girl known as Maya proves to be a puzzle herself. As her story twists and turns, slowly shining light on life in the butterfly garden, Maya reveals old grudges, new savors, and horrific tales of a man who goes to any length to hold beauty captive. But the more she shares, the more the angels have to wonder what she's still hiding. And the reason why I ordered this book is because when I was reading, I had a hypothesis about it. I was gonna say that Maya, since, you know, it seems like from the summary she knows a lot since she's telling so much. Either she has something to do with it, or she's involved in some way with him taking them girls. But I really just wanted to read it to see if I was right. But this book looks really interesting, and I'm really excited to read it if I have time. And I wanted to touch on why I didn't finish my TBR for February, because I had one more book to read. I wanted to read Bell Hooks All About Love if I had time, but I just didn't have time because I got busy with school and work. But there was another book that I planned on reading called Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. And I started to read it, but then I realized that I I'm not really into romance. It's not because I don't like the romance genre. It's just that it's not really my thing. And what I wrote about why. I'm just gonna read to you guys what I wrote on my notes about why I don't really like to read romances all that much. Conclusions about the books I read in February. I didn't finish the last book. I became busy with school and work. To be honest, I didn't have the motivation to finish even the last book after finishing 7 Days in June. I enjoy the genre, reading romance books, especially when you can see yourself in the characters, because most of the main characters were Black, can be enrapturing. I can slowly feel myself becoming diluted with hope in regards to love, but hope is a dangerous thing for a woman like me. Corny. Some women authors handle romance with so much care and consideration. Love and romance becomes very enthralling to think about. You can't help but to think maybe the idea of being in love isn't too bad. But I know that's just not the truth, and it's not something I really want. But yeah, that's what I wrote. That's just one of the little annotations I made. Because sometimes when I'll read books, most times when I read books, I'll just make little annotations in my notes or on the Kindle app. Because I discovered that a little later that you can like make annotations on the Kindle books. But yeah, I'll just make annotations in my notes if I don't want to if there's not enough space to write in the book and I don't want to just write all over the book. And I'll just make little annotations in my notes app, and then I'll just write about. And then since I'm starting to do, multiple books in a month and then making videos, I just decided to do conclusions where I'll just conclude everything and how I felt while reading all those books. But basically, I'm gonna do that for my March reads, because most of the books I have are very eerie and enigmatic, and they all have like a twist to them, like what's gonna happen, and it's basically you trying to follow the story and trying to figure out how the stories are gonna end. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I really love doing this. So if you want me to make more videos, or if you have any recommendations, just comment down below and just give me any recommendations. Please like this video, and thank you so much again. Bye.